Hello, everybody. I'm Kevin Allen of USA Today, and I'm joined by my podcast partner, Tom Laidlaw, the former NHL defenseman for the New York Rangers and Los Angeles Kings. And this is the Laidlaw and Allen Report, coming to you twice a week to talk about all things hockey. And Tom, I'm going to start us out with a little NBA talk because I think it's interesting with regard to the NHL, and that is, of course, it leaked out, and I think the NBA was happy that it leaked out because I think they wanted to draw some attention to it, that the NBA is going to shake it up a little bit. And, their television ratings, while still much better than the NHL's, slid a little bit. And they're wondering, I think, whether or not that the fact that NBA players set out late in the regular season, which sort of gives the impression that the regular season isn't important, is kind of causing this ratings decline, I think. But anyway, regardless of why they're doing it, they're going to shake it up. They're going to go from 82 to 78 games on the regular season. They're going to have a play-in for to get in for that final playoff spot. And they're going to have, and this is really interesting, an in-season tournament like European soccer has, where, the season will, I guess, because they haven't really announced how they're going to do it, that the season will stop for a while, and then they'll have a tournament from all their teams. And, I don't know whether they'll call it the
Cup.
Yeah, the Bill Russell Cup, right, or something like that. And they'll play this. Now, the reason I find this whole thing interesting is I wonder whether or not the NHL ought to look at this. Now, I like the playoffs the way they are. I think they're very, very exciting. Oh, and I forgot one important thing, too. And this is something we have talked about in the NHL, and that is that when you get down to the semifinals, the conference finals, when you have 4 conference teams left, they're going to seed them accordingly, so that you can have the 2 best teams meet in the final regardless of geography.
Right.
And, we've talked about that in the NHL as well, just to make sure you get the best, possible matchup. But I bring that up. Like I said, I'm happy with the way the playoffs go. And I think our regular season is actually pretty exciting,
right.
The way it is. Saying all that, I'm intrigued by the play-in game. I favored that. I love baseball's play-in game. And I think, a 1-game playoff, I think it would be exciting as heck trying to get in the playoffs. I think people would tune in. I think they'd break all sorts of ratings records.
Yep.
I think you could sell that to an odd channel to create a little ancillary revenue. I really like that. And I'm intrigued by this in-season tournament, where you get in and, I don't know how it would be done. You'd have the same risk of injury that you have at the Olympics, but you could call it the Gordie Howe Cup,
sure,
or whatever, and you play. And if you want to spice it up a little bit, maybe we invite a couple of teams from Sweden, a couple of teams from the KHL, and you play those games over there. Could be interesting. What's your thoughts on this?
Well, I think, the NBA, I look at them different. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think our regular season is pretty successful right now. I guess you'd always want to spice it up as much as you can. But from what I understand, I listened to a couple of radio shows this morning, actually, they're talking about this NBA schedule. It seems to be one of the – I'm not much of an NBA fan, and maybe that's part of the issue is that maybe their fan following hasn't been that great lately, or it's dwindling. They're trying to find new ways to spice it up. But I don't think it's a problem having that in-season tournament. I think it's exciting. But again, I just don't think the NHL needs it. Again, listen, if you try it and maybe it makes it even better, I'm with you. I like the way the NHL is now. I love our playoff format. I've heard this talk about, you want to make sure you have the best 2 teams in the finals. I mean, I don't first of all, I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen, even if you do reseed them and to get to the semifinals. I like our playoffs. I like the fact that maybe the second round of the playoffs is a fantastic series. You've got 2 of the top teams in the league playing against each other. I mean, I like the fact that a team like St. Louis, who didn't have a great regular season, started to play better and better as the regular season got going, can go on a run like they did and win a Stanley Cup. Because they put it all together in the playoffs. To me, I like that kind of stuff. A lot of people maybe wouldn't have viewed that, okay, they're one of the best teams, Tampa or somebody should have been in the finals. Well, Tampa didn't earn the right to be in the finals. St. Louis did. So I love our playoffs too. I'm with you. That one game one game to get into the playoffs, I think that'd be fantastic. That'd be exciting. But to me, our regular season is good. I don't think it's the same problem that the NBA's got. I think the NBA is looking to draw attention to the league, and they need to. No, I'm all for the NHL the way it is right now.
Yeah, I think the thing that intrigues me the most is and I have written on this. Everybody kind of knows how I feel about this. I'm a baseball fan, and I love when they have the single game elimination. I think if you took the 13th team the 17th team in each conference and played them off with the 16th team for the chance to get in, I think it really would be off the charts.
Let's run a scenario there. Let's say the 16th place team just has enough points, or right behind the 15th place team, but then the 17th place team is maybe like 8 points behind, and all of a sudden the 17th place team beats the 16th place team. Is that fair?
Yeah, because don't put yourself in that position. If you don't want to risk being in there, you gotta. Everybody knows, 15 places, then you're in. If you put yourself in a position to be the 16th team, you're going to face another level of challenge, and that's just the way sports is.
Yeah, I guess you're right, Kevin. For at least for another day or two, they got another team that's still got a chance, another fan base that still has their team with a chance to make it the playoffs. So yeah, I see. Yep.
And I really do like the. I'm such a all around sports fan. I like soccer too. And I pay attention a little bit, not greatly, but and I like the idea of an in-season tournament. And what you would do for that is that you would designate one of your 82 regular season games to be your first round Gordie Howe Challenge Cup game as well.
So it isn't like the whole schedule is part of this tournament. It's just
no. But you could. I mean, there's so many different ways you could do it. But let's just say that we designate and it's based on the seeding of the previous year. So number one plays 31. Somebody's going to get a bye because we got 31 teams. But so you just designate that your game in October versus when it's the Vegas Golden Knights versus Calgary is your Gordie Howe Challenge Cup game. So the winner of that game is going to advance. And the losers. Now you're down to 16 teams. So we got to find a break in the game so that these next 16 teams can sort of find a time to play a game. Then we get down to 8, then we get down to 4. And so you end up having over the course of the season while all this is going on. Yeah, it adds games. There's no doubt about it.
But the NBA is reducing the number of games. They're reducing their games from 82 to 78, correct?
They are, but they're going to bring games back in terms of the in-season tournament. So, you could do that as well if you wanted to with the NHL, or you could just play a few more games. But I think, once you get down to 16, I think if, you announced, and again, these now when you get in that second round, these won't count in the NHL standings. These would just be a Gordie Howe Challenge. And again, there's so many different ways to do it. I'm just throwing out a way you could do it. So now you announce, and this game is going to be on November 15th, and in the Sweet 16, you're going to have Edmonton versus Vegas, and it's the Gordie Howe Challenge Cup. Well, it's just another thing to play for. And I know the NBA has said that they expect that people won't be excited about it in the first couple of years, but after a while, it'll be a thing. Like, you either you win the Stanley Cup, that's the grand prize, but hey, during the course of the season, maybe you won the Gordie Howe Challenge Cup. Did
you ask your cousin Barry Trotz what he thought of this first?
I have not.
Oh, okay. You got to.
I'm sure the coaches are not going to like this.
Right. Okay.
No, because it's more games, the risk of injury, blah blah blah.
Right.
But I think from the fan perspective, I think it would be a lot of fun. And there are millions of people in the world who love soccer, and they have been doing this for a long time. Yeah. In season tournaments, and I always find it interesting that hockey fans can be so arrogant about this. Like, what do they know? It's our game is different. Well, they must know something because their game produces billions of dollars in revenue.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, this still is a business.
Well, you go way back, and we've talked about this before, but you go way back to 05 when they changed all the rules, the hooking and holding and all that kinds of stuff. And I was one of those people, oh my God, it's going to be terrible. It'll be penalties all the time. And the game is certainly different, but it's a great game now. And the revenues rise. The stuff they're doing in the league is really made, like you said, it is a business, and the revenues are what now? Well over $4 billion. Aren't they close to $5 billion?
Yeah. Well, and here's the remarkable thing about this, even in the NBA, like, with full disclosure, we're talking about the NBA perceives problems, but they're still like, they're a beast. Like, their revenue is far exceeds the NHL revenue. Their numbers far exceeds the NHL. Like,
that will continue. The story is that the networks are not getting the viewers that they were in the past, and that those numbers will drop. Yeah,
they have dropped, but they're still much better than the NHL's by a significant amount. Right. Like, it's true. So my point is they don't have to do this. They're just trying to be proactive and get on it and sort of cut off at the pass. And and the same thing is true in the NHL. They don't really need to do anything. Gary Bettman has said that he didn't want a play-in game. So they don't have to do it. But I think the play-in game, at the very least, I guess that would be, of all the things, that's the thing that what
would be the negatives? Why would they not want to have the play-in game?
I have no idea. I don't understand. I mean, because I just think it would create excitement. You bring in, more teams into the playoff mix. I think it would be exciting. I guess the only thing, you probably are going to extend the playoffs by 3 days.
Yeah.
But so what?
And in fact, the NFL is going to add more games to their schedule as well, which pushes the Super Bowl back too, right? So,
Well, the Super Bowl is going into February.
Yeah.
And eventually, I think we're going to see 18 regular season games. I like what the NFL is doing too. Like, to get rid of the preseason games, that's ridiculous.
Well, especially now with the theory and I think it's pretty accurate, that the players are coming in better shape now, right? So they don't training camp. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing with NHL. They don't, in your day, I think they did need training camps. Guys needed to come in and get in shape.
Yeah.
But that's simply not true anymore. These guys stay around in shape year round. And, I remember Jim Nill telling me one time that he felt when he played in the NHL, if he didn't skate for 2 days, on that second day, he felt like he had lost something.
Oh, yeah, totally. No, you really do. It takes I hated days off. Like, when I hear some of this talk about, like, guys want to break during the regular season to the rest go over in the Olympics and that kinds of stuff, man, I would have hated that. If I was off for a week or 10 days or something in the middle of the season, it would take me another 2 weeks to get back into game condition. So, yeah,
well, in the old days, guys did not want to break from either skating or drinking. They wanted to go straight through.
Aren't they the same?
Yeah, I guess so. In those days it were. So
those are the days.
Anyway, we've probably spent enough time on this topic. I just think it's an interesting thought, and my favorite of what the NBA is doing is the play-in games. I really enjoy those in baseball, and I think they would be magic for the NHL if we did them. And want to talk a little bit about one of your favorite subjects, the Toronto Maple Leafs. Sheldon Keefe has moved in, and suddenly they're a different team. And what do you hear from the players? I got to give you credit, Tom, because you hit this one on the head.
Yeah, the biggest thing, and actually, I don't think I've thought of this before when I was saying that it was time for Babcock to move on. But after seeing some of the other comments, and I think it all kinds of makes sense. I think Kyle Dubas, the general manager, put together a team to be played a certain way, a fast, speedy game. And Mike Babcock, either because he didn't believe in that or he wanted to win some battle so that he was the boss there to show Kyle Dubas who was the boss, he didn't want to let the team play that way. It seems like he was fighting to try to have the team play a different way other than the way it was designed by Kyle Dubas. And I think, to me, as I heard those comments more and more, it seems like it makes sense to me. There's some... Was it a battle to try to gain control? Because, again, Mike Babcock, he really thinks, especially with that salary he was making, he thinks he was the man, right? That's how he views himself, that he runs that organization, doesn't matter where it is. And I didn't like some of the comments by Babcock after, too. Like, he thanked certain people, Larry Tannenbaum, kind of like saying Larry Tannenbaum was the only reason. He's one of the owners, I believe, the team. He was one of the only reason I came to Toronto in the first place. And I thank Lou Lamoriello, but he didn't thank Kyle Dubas. He didn't thank Brendan Shanahan. It was kind of like sour grapes. The team was not performing. Anybody that watched that team knew that he had lost the locker room and it just wasn't working. They needed to get fired. That happens in the game. You don't like it. But I just didn't like the way he handled stuff. And like I said, I'm not a Mike Babcock fan. I think the game has kind of passed him by. He's going to have to change his coaching to really win. It's like I said, it's about the team winning. It's not about the coach trying to win some battle or have power or control over the team. So had to be done.
Yeah, and the players said basically what you had said is that finding Sheldon Keefe's letting them be the players they are. Definitely. And letting them play the game they know how to play, as opposed to putting round pegs in square holes.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what they're doing there. So all of a sudden now they look like a different team. Speaking of different teams, I was in Chicago. I saw the Lightning play Chicago, and I had a chance to talk to John Cooper a little bit about his team, and I found it interesting. His take on what's happening there is a little bit different, I think, than everyone's else. Like, he's noted that scoring chance wise, they actually have more scoring chances than they did last season when they won 62 games. And it really just speaks to how when you have a 62 win season, everything has to be perfect. Like, and it's not like, is the team worse than it was last season? He argues that it's not really. But, all the things that went absolutely their way last season aren't going their way this year. And
that's coach speak to me. I don't buy that. I watched them play, and they're just not playing. They were not playing with the same intensity they were playing with last year. Like that same desire to win the game by doing all the little things right. I still believe it's that, San Jose's out of it now. Dallas is out of that rut now. But when they were having a hard time at the start of the year, they were all doing the same thing. They were just taking shortcuts on the ice. To me, it wasn't any magic pill that they had to take. It's just they weren't working hard enough and doing the things they had to do to win hockey games. So I hear him saying that, and I know he wants to, he doesn't want anybody like panicking there in Tampa. So he's trying to justify that they're playing better, but I just think they're just not playing hard enough.
Yeah, well, they have in the last two games they've looked a little bit better. And what's interesting, of course, is they were playing without Kucherov. Now he's back, and then they lost Stamkos, who's going to be out now. And you said before that sometimes when a top player is out, everybody pulls a little harder on the oars, and instead of waiting for someone else to do it, everybody does it themselves. Maybe that's what's going on here too over the last couple of games.
Yeah, I agree totally. Yeah, I mean, listen, I admire Cooper saying those things, but yeah, and like I said, you look at Dallas now, you look at San Jose, you go, well, where were you guys before? But it's that same thing that Calgary's going through it now too, right? They had a good start to the season. Buffalo had a good start to the season. Now teams are having their struggles, and you're always going to go through that during the regular season. You're going to have your struggles. It's how much you can limit the length of those struggles and get back out of it again. Confidence is such a big thing. You look at those teams that are struggling, but I think Tampa is fine. They're to change things. I don't think it makes any sense. The same thing they talked about with Calgary, trying to change things, whatever. Dallas, they held firm. They didn't make changes. They're playing much better now. Same thing with San Jose. So I think the GMs that are really good GMs, they listen, okay, we're going through a tough stretch. We don't like it, but this is a team that I think can win, and very often they're right.
So luck and happenstance play no role in sports in your mind?
No, I don't think luck and happenstance plays any role. I think.
Yeah, I think you're nuts. I think it plays a big role.
No, you need to go into the game knowing that things are going to go against you. Bad bounces are going to go against you. Bad plays by your players are going to go against you, and you prepare for that. That's all part of it. The bad luck is going to be part of it. But to say as a coach, we're losing games because we got bad luck and puck's just not going in the net for us.
Well, I mean, you're never going to say that because you always feel like you're in control. But we've all seen it happenings during a game that it's just totally out of anybody's control.
Yeah. But the great team. So how did the New York Islanders? Would they win 16 playoffs or 17 playoff series in a row?
They were a great team, but I'm not. But I all I'm saying is sometimes luck does play a role. If you're a great team and you're so much better than everyone else, then luck doesn't matter. But if everything's tight and it's like a game 7, we hear it all the time from players. Game 7 is
you prepare for bad luck. That's part of your preparation.
Well, I agree with that part of it. I do think though it impacts the game. I've said before, and I actually believe this. If you play Game 7 on a Tuesday night and you play that game, and of course the winner moves on to the next round, you replay that game Wednesday, you could have a completely different result, of course.
But I don't think that's because of luck. I think that's because of the decision-making process of the players.
So you just think that on the next day the other team's players were the better players.
Yeah, not necessarily the better players, but they played the game better. They did all the things. They were better team players. They played their role better.
Yeah.
So I think it's a big. I think the NHL and the other leagues like this too. They get wrapped up in which is the better team. To me, at the NHL level, the talent level isn't that big of a difference. And in some cases, I've said this before, there's too much talent because there's the real talented guys aren't willing to play like the third or fourth line guys. So your third and fourth line guys, although they're less talented, they need to do their jobs. Everybody's got a job out there. So, I mean, to me, that the talent or the luck or whatever, it's guys that are willing to do their job. Who's coaching these guys properly? Who's prepared to play the game better? That's what I think the difference is.
Well, I mean, I mean, it's hard to argue what you're saying. It's kind of like Joe Paterno used to say, you've got to prepare for a game and don't put yourself in a position to let one bad officiating call ruin it. No one's going to dispute that. I mean, that's just the way to approach any game. And a superior team, if it plays to the best of its ability, will win every time. But there's no way you're ever going to convince me that during the course of some games that something odd happens. I mean, we see it all the time when, pucks hit sticks just right and go up in the upper corner, and sometimes a puck hits the boards and it caroms out in front. Like, you can't plan for that. That just kind of happens.
Well,
so I think plays a role in it.
You're wrong. I think you do plan for that stuff happening. You know that those kinds of plays are going to happen in a game. You prepare for it, and you say, listen, we're going to have a bad goal go against us, but that's fine. We need to know what's going to happen, and we're going to now be ready. We're not going to let our game collapse because we have one bad play go against us. I mean, look at your cousin Barry Trotz there with the Islanders. Well, they haven't lost 17 games now. That's not. I mean, they've had some bad bounces go their way.
Well, yeah, I'm sure they've had some bounces. Does that mean just because they've had some luck, does that mean they weren't a terrific team? Well, of course not. They've been great, but every once in a while you get some luck, and sometimes you don't get luck.
Very true. I played for 10 years. I don't ever think I had a lucky bounce at all ever.
Never. Oh, I'm sure you did.
Never.
I'm sure you did. I'm sure you never had a lucky bounce. Nothing ever went your way. I'm sure what is it? You create your own luck, isn't that what they always say? Which I always thought was a ridiculous statement. So, anyway, let's move on from that. I enjoyed that. Keith Yandle, Tom, the other night lost 9 teeth. Just took a shot. A guy was shooting a puck down from his. I don't even know who it was, to be honest. Shot from his zone into Yandle's zone. I don't know whether he was blocked by another player, but it hit him right in the mouth, and he lost 9 teeth. Missed the second period, came back and played in the third, had major dental work the next morning, and then played the next night. And, of course, he has an Ironman streak. He actually is in a position to challenge Doug Jarvis's record of 964 consecutive games played. He's got to go all of this season and next season, and he could do that. But it's remarkable. He hasn't missed a game in a decade. But I mean, it just goes to show you, and he's not the only guy who does that. But
well, I tell you, I owe him an apology because although he's had that consecutive game streak for a long time here now, I just didn't think he was that gritty of a player. But after watching him do what he did, like, he's a skilled guy who, like, that was pretty good. I mean, I give him credit for that. Like one thing to come back the next day is still tough, but to come back during that game, I mean, there's a lot of guys that would not come back and you say, oh, okay, so we lost 9 teeth. You can't give him a hard time for that. But to come back and play after losing those teeth, I give him full marks. And again, I owe him an apology because I really haven't thought he was that gritty of a player, but they showed it there.
Well, Phil Kessel has an Ironman streak going too. He's in he could actually be the first guy to play 1,000 games in a row. I mean, that's a different kind of record. I don't know how to categorize that. How do you view it? I mean,
well, to play, like, for a guy like a Phil Kessel to play 1,000 games in a row, or anybody to play 1,000 games in a row, no matter how physical or not physical a player you are, there's going to be certain times during those styles of games where you get hit with a puck in the ankle, or you're sick, or the groin pulls, or whatever it is. You get some injury that kind of tests your ability to play the next day. But so to keep playing, there's no possible way you can play in the National Hockey League and not have those kinds of injuries. So to continue to play through those, I mean, again, both those guys. It's a great point by with Phil Kessel. Like his reputation had been, again, we talked about that soft player that didn't work hard enough, wasn't dedicated to all those things. But I like that guy. He just marches to a beat of a different drummer and comes and plays every time. But yeah, to me, again, my first 4 years in the league, I missed 2 games, both because Herb Brooks wanted to rest me at the end of the season. Finally, in my 5th year, I ruptured my spleen and missed 6 weeks with ruptured spleen. So, but there's a few times during that stretch where there's ankle sprains and everything, and the doctors would say, "Tom, you shouldn't play." But part of the culture is, especially in hockey, is know that even if the doctor's telling you not to play, you want to play. And obviously that's one of the reasons I love hockey so much. Those kinds of moments.
Well, and when you lost your spleen, that's when you earned the title of the NHL's second best player without a spleen. Because Peter Forsberg.
That's right, too, yes.
Yeah, didn't have a spleen. So he was the best player without a spleen, but you were the second best.
All right, yeah.
You were the best defenseman without a spleen.
Yeah. I think I came back the quickest ever from the spleen. He missed some time. I missed 6 weeks and came back and played. So there might be a record there, too.
When they take your spleen out, is it a splenectomy? What is that?
Splenectomy. It's called. I think it's actually the term is splenectomy, not splenectomy. But
splenectomy. Okay.
It's up at Boston, Massachusetts General Hospital right now. It's probably up there someplace in the wall. I don't know.
I'm guessing that you saw that as a red badge of courage.
God! Well,
you milked that for weeks with your teammates.
Totally. So I played. It happened early in the first period. And I didn't know it was a ruptured spleen, obviously, but I felt my stomach was getting crampy. Went in between periods. The trainer didn't know, and it wasn't his fault, but he started putting heat packs on, which made it worse. He thought I had the flu. Finally, Robbie Fattori comes in at the end of the second period. So yeah, I played for 2 periods of ruptured spleen. I was
wow.
And then Robbie comes in. I'm laying on the trainer's table, and Robbie and I were good friends, and he knew that I hated to get on the trainer's table. And he said, "What's wrong with you?" So I said, "Robbie, I got this pain in my shoulder because I guess there's some vein that goes up through your shoulder, and the blood pressure had like a shooting pain in your shoulder." He went and got the doctor. The doctor asked me about the shoulder. I said, "Yeah, but that's not the problem." He says, "You're out of here. You got a ruptured spleen." And they went to get a stretcher. And here's one of my proudest moments. They had to get the stretcher, and I go, "I walked in here. I'm walking out of here." Show you. I think back about that now, how like fired up I was. I'm walking out of here with a ruptured spleen, but that was funny.
And you did.
Yeah.
And finally, let's wrap it up a little bit. Robert Bortuzzo gets a 4-game suspension over the cross-check to Arvidsson. Give me your take on what you saw on that, and was the suspension long enough?
I thought the suspension was too long, to be honest with you. It was a cross-check. Now, here's where he got himself in trouble. He did it twice. The first one, I'm assuming he was just going to get a minor penalty for. He cross-checked him from behind. I think what he felt was that they poked the goaltender, and he came in to clear out the crease. And it is bad play on his part. He had his arms extended. There's just no possible way the referee wasn't going to call it. It was right in front of him. But I think the player embellished it a little bit and went diving into the net. I think Bortuzzo then was mad, turned around and cross-checked him again. And I believe from watching the NHL video and their commentary on it, that's where he really got suspended, was the additional cross-check. Again, old school for me. We were taught to do that. Now, the second one was unnecessary. But I thought 4 games was pretty
even though that Arvidsson's out 4 weeks with that injury? That's a pretty heavy cross-check to put a guy out 4 weeks.
Yeah, I do. And that is unfortunate. I get it. I'd be interested to see if he's really out for 4 weeks. I mean, Bruce back. Is it really going to be 4 weeks?
Well, that's what they're saying. But, I mean, I know what you're saying on that. And that's why I think there's always been a discussion of whether or not there should be an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth mentality in supplemental discipline. Like the guy would be out for the same amount of time. But, the problem is, people say, "Oh, he's going to be out 8 weeks," and then, he's back 4 days later.
Well, yeah, but if let's say it's somebody, the Pittsburgh Penguins and New York Rangers, and Sidney Crosby cross-checks somebody, 4th-line player with the Rangers, well, the Rangers could, in theory, sit that player out, and then Sidney Crosby has to sit longer.
Sure. I mean, that's why we don't do those kinds of things. Yeah. But, I just thought if Arvidsson really is going to be out that length of time, that had to be a pretty severe cross-check.
No, he hit the second one when he was down, and Bertuzzi was a big man, a strong guy, and he got him good. That's just a stupid play. I mean, but as a defenseman, I kind of like feel for him because he sees his goaltender getting the players in there poking at the puck, and he goes to clear him out. And I think the player embellished the first cross check a little bit. Then he's mad. I mean, it's stupid the second time around because everybody. I mean, obviously the camera's on him anyways, no matter when he did it, but everybody's watching at that point. So I like the player a lot. I could see what his intentions were, but the second one was totally unnecessary.
All right, you've been watching the Laidlaw and Allen report. We're here twice a week. We'll be back on. We're going to do it Wednesday before Thanksgiving. We'll do it again on Wednesday. Come back and join us.
Get those turkeys going. Gobble, gobble. Let's go.